He is stronger and is singular, and only knowing all things indeed, as not having anything more ancient than himself. For he bears rule both over multitude and greatness, and the diversity of the things that are made, and the continuity of reality, and of the operation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Corpus Hermeticum, the Divine Pymander, hearing from Hermes Trismegistus, original manuscript, 3rd century AD. This is a new edition, 2015, edited by Tarl Warwick. But thank you for being here, and it is Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. You know what that means. Time for us to continue our series and our learning and our teachings on Hermetics and the Corpus Hermeticum. We come to the final chapter, entitled To Asclepius, To Be Truly Wise. To be truly wise, ladies and gentlemen. To Asclepius. This has been a fantastic series. If you've missed this, be sure to go back and check out the previous videos. We have been through so much. And so, we now come to chapter number 17, To Asclepius, To Be Truly Wise. So hopefully it's a beautiful day wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of the weather. It's a beautiful day here, and wishing everyone well. Thank you for joining me. Once again, reading this for purposes of teaching and commentary and expanding the mind so that through this increased awareness and understanding of the nature of the things that are, as Hermes Trismegistus calls it, or the nature of reality, through that awareness, hopefully we can increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us dive into chapter 17, To Asclepius, To Be Truly Wise, the final chapter of the Corpus Hermeticum. Line number 1. Because you, O Thoth, in your absence, need to learn the nature of the things that are. He would not suffer me to give over until I was forced to discourse to him many things at large, that his contemplation might, from point to point, be more easy and successful. Line number 2. But to you, I have thought good to write a few words, choosing out the principal heads of the things then spoken, and to interpret them more mystically, because you have both more years and more knowledge of nature. 3. All things that appear were made and are made. So right there, first lesson. All things that appear in the physical realm, possibly, are, the reason I said possibly there is because it could also be in the spiritual realm, but I'm not sure if those things are actually made. So, because there's a lot of times in this philosophy, previously it spoke about the physical realm being begotten or made manifest, always using those kinds of terms. So, if you've been here before, you know I tend to ramble because this is my journey, and I thank you for joining me, and we can all learn together. And so, line 4. Those things that are not made by themselves, but by another. And there are many things made, but especially all things that appear, and which are different and not alike. 6. If the things that be made and done be made and done by another, there must be one must make and do them. There must be one that's making these things and doing them, if everything is made by another. And so there must be one that make and do them. And he, unmade, the more ancient than the things that are made. For I affirm the things that are made to be made by another, and it is impossible that of the things that are made, any should be more ancient than all, but only that which is never created. Talking about the creator here, God, Atum, grand organized design, God, Great Spirit, the Tao, whatever you want to call it, ladies and gentlemen, the force, But this more ancient thing than all is that which is never created or made. He, it said, unmade, and more ancient than all the things that are made. And this is where you caught me at the beginning. Line number 8. He is stronger and is singular, and only knowing all things indeed, as not having anything more ancient than himself. For he bears rule, both over multitude and greatness, and the diversity of the things that are made, and the continuity of reality and of the operation. Moreover, the things that are made are visible, but he, I like to call it, rather than giving it the masculine, because as we've learned through all this philosophy, there is a masculine, feminine, androgyne, positive, negative polarity balance going on here with all of this. So keep that in mind when it's using the masculine terms there to describe Atum, the one God. Moreover, the things that are made are visible, but he is invisible. And for this cause he makes them, that he may be visible, and therefore he makes them always. So what that's saying to me there is what you'll hear in Christian teachings, and it's funny because this comes from far earlier times. So obviously they got a lot of their ideas from the spiritual philosophy, as I like to call it, but the occult esoteric knowledge that was deemed paganism by the Holy Roman Empire, that comes to us from the Egyptian sage god Thoth, or Greek Hermes Trismegistus. But once again, what that's saying to me there is that the things that are visible, moreover, the things that are made are visible, but he is invisible, and so for this cause he makes them. So God, creator, Atum, Tao, force, whatever you want to call it, is creating all of this stuff that's visible and physical so that for this cause that he, or that God, it, may be visible to us so that we can see it. He makes them that he may be visible, and therefore he makes them always. Thus, remember Asclepius, it is fit to understand, and understanding to admire, and admiring to think yourself happy that you know your natural father. But we can see and experience and know God and contemplate it. This goes back, it says in the next line, for what is sweeter than a natural father? A father being something that which creates through a union of the masculine and feminine, obviously, but a natural one rather than an unnatural one. I wonder, who therefore is this, or how shall we know him? Number 14. Or is it just to ascribe unto him alone the title and appellation of God, or of the Maker, or of the Father, or all three? See, so even Hermes here is giving us this understanding that it's, what name shall we give this, that which is unnamed? As the Tao Te Ching teaches us, the Tao that is named is not the eternal name, and that which remains nameless is the eternal Tao. Let us go to the first verse of the Tao Te Ching real quick. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. So the Tao being God, Atum, the reason I'm here doing all of this, a lot of it, is because I'm just personally fascinated and you could say obsessed with this kind of information for many reasons. However, there seems to be this mystery throughout all of humanity's history about this thing. And normally, in a lot of cases, it's referred to as God, sometimes Great Spirit, grand, whatever we want to call it. But it's always this mystery. And throughout all of humanity's history, we've been trying to discover the nature and our connection to and the function of this unnamed force or essence that is responsible seemingly for creation and for the functioning and continued operation and continued creation of everything that is happening at all times. Not just here, but everywhere. And not just in the physical plane, but in all the planes, in all realms. And so that's why I'm going to the Tao Te Ching now to reference something speaking about this same thing, so that hopefully, maybe before I even reference that, this tangent, so that hopefully, as said in Hermes Trismegistus, his first book, that we can, through a constant contemplation, attempt to attain true knowledge of Atum, or simply put, the things that are. In the first book of Hermes Trismegistus, he says, O my son, write this first book both for humanity's sake and for reverence and honor, piety, towards God, for there can be no spiritual pursuit, religion, more true or just than to know the things that are. And then, this was talking about us, what it was saying in the verse earlier, seeing God, or seeing this through the things that are visible, despite it not being visible. Easy for me to say. And so, what do we do? For there can be no spiritual pursuit more true or just than to know the things that are, that to see that all of this is God and understand the functioning and workings of all of reality, and then to acknowledge thanks for all things. So to appreciate it, to see it for what it is, admire. What did it say? Let's go back to that line. For it thus it is fit to understand, and understanding to admire, and admiring to think yourself happy, that you know your natural Father. Moreover, the things that are made are visible, but he is invisible, and for this cause he makes them that he may be visible, and therefore he makes them always. So to know the things that are, to see them for what they are, to appreciate them, to acknowledge thanks for all things, and to that which hath made them. This is going back to line 2 of the first book here. If you want to get this book for yourself, to follow along, going back through the series, or just to have it on your shelf for reference, there's a link below. Just thought I'd throw that out there while I'm referencing certain spots here. And to acknowledge thanks for all things to that which made them. It says him. See, it's always giving it this masculine principle. I might not be getting the full understanding on that part, so if you have a deeper understanding on how Atum or God or Creator, what are the names it gave us back here? Or is it just to ascribe unto him alone the title or appellation of God, or the Maker, or of the Father, or of all three? And so, to appreciate that which made them, which thing we shall not cease continually to do. And there, Asclepius, or Tot, son of Thoth, depending who was in this dialogue in the first book, it says, O my son, so it's probably Tot. But he says, What then should a man do, O father, to lead his life well, seeing that there is nothing here true? Since all of this is just an appearance of a made manifestation, or a manifestation that is made by God, that is not manifest, so that it may be visible. If this is too deep, just bear with me. as I always say, if you're not really getting any of this, you're probably picking something up. And if you think you're getting all of this 100%, then you're probably not getting very much of it. So, this is how paradoxes work. And remember, in the first lines of the Hermetica, Mysteries of the Unexplained over there we did yesterday, he says, in the very first words of Hermes in this book, a pure philosophy is a spiritual striving through a constant contemplation to attain true knowledge of Atum, the one God. And this pure philosophy is what is being described here when it's talking about, whoops, I went too far. Book 1, when it's talking about this piety, this reverence, this honor, acknowledging thanks for all things. But what then should a man do to lead his life well, seeing there is nothing here true? Be pious and religious. To me, that means have reverence and honor and have a spiritual pursuit, a pure philosophy, and a spiritual striving through a constant contemplation. And this constant contemplation is what I was referencing, saying when, if you're not really getting much of this, or if you are, and it's through the constant contemplation that we actually do get this. Sorry, I'm oftentimes looking at myself in the video rather than the camera, but it's all good. We're just having fun, ladies and gentlemen. Give yourself a pat on the back for being here, because we are the 1%ers. But there is a spiritual revolution taking place right now, and it is obvious to many of us that the consciousness of humanity is being influenced by many astrological things that are going on. Be spiritual, have a pursuit of this pure philosophy, and have reverence and honor for Atum and creation and that which we are a part of. You are not separate from God, ladies and gentlemen, Atum. Remember, for he that does so, he or she, man or woman, that does so is the best and highest philosopher. Remember, the pure philosophy, spiritual striving, constant contemplation, attain true knowledge of the things that are, or Atum, the one God. For he that does so is the best and highest philosopher, and without philosophy it is impossible ever to attain the height and exactness of piety and religion. But he that shall learn and study the things that are, this is a little bit of the beginning of the first book if you missed the start of this whole series. But it's all related. I mean, any part of this could reference what we're talking about here. This is why he said at the beginning of our section today that I was forced to discourse to him many things at large, that his contemplation, that our contemplation from point to point might be more easy and successful. So let us continue. While first, looking at that verse, the first line of the first verse of the Tao Te Ching, to get more example, because where we're going back to is it's talking about, should we call God, the maker, creator, father? What should we, is the name important? Well, what does the Tao Te Ching have to say about the name? It says the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The Tao, Atum, God, Maker, Father, whatever, is both named and nameless. As nameless, it is the origin of all things. So remember, I was saying just a minute ago about it is not made, but it is eternal, and it is the origin or the maker of all things, so that it may be visible, despite it being invisible. As nameless, it is the origin of all things. As named, it is the mother of 10,000 things. the mother of 10,000 things, so that all the things that we see as separate and not as the one thing, when really, as nameless, it is the source and it is the origin of all of the 10,000 things that we see separate. I think the 10,000 things was Lao Tzu's kind of coin term for talking about us seeing a separate physical reality and like, I'm me, this is a microphone, this is a screen, these are separate books. It's all one, which is hard for us to get from this individualized, subjective, human separate perspective viewpoint. I don't know. Ever desireless. This is my favorite bit of poetry. If you don't get nothing, remember this little bit of poetry, these 4 lines. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one sees only the manifestations. And the mystery itself is the doorway to all understanding. The mystery itself, ladies and gentlemen, is the doorway to all understanding. Always a paradox from the Tao Te Ching, though. So, let's go back to line number 11 and continue forward from there. Thus it is fit to understand, and understanding to admire, and admiring to think yourself happy that we know our natural father. For what is sweeter than a natural father? Who, therefore, is this? Or how shall we know him? 14. Or is it just to ascribe unto him alone the title and appellation of God, or of the Maker, or of the Father, or of all three? That of God because of his power, the Maker because of his working and operation, and the Father because of his goodness. I like that. And I like that I rambled for like 5 minutes before I read the last half of that line number 14 there. Should we call him God? It. See, it's almost convincing me to say him now. That would be anthropomorphizing or creating like a person out of God. But God is not a person. So, got to be careful with what we do there. And so, the Maker, do we call it God, the Maker, the Father, the Mother, Source, Tao? But here it's saying do that of God because of its power. We call it the Maker because of its workings and operation in all of reality. That's like continuing every moment. When you look out your window, or you don't even have to, when you see shadows moving. I thought about this a lot back when I was painting a whole lot, is thinking about shadows and movement, like on the peaks here. Like when the clouds or the sun or whatever changes 10 minutes later, all of these shadows would be different. And it's like reality is like an ongoing painting that's never stopping. God's like always out there with his palette knife and his brushes, and he's constantly changing the imagery entire time. The entire time. So that goes back to time. I feel like time's been changing a lot lately, speeding up, slowing down. I don't know. For me, speeding up, like, and I've heard, leave me a comment if you feel like time's been going faster for you lately, going slower, feeling just different. But, that's something we talked about yesterday as well on the Mysteries of the Unexplained, Beyond the Walls of Time. Is time, like, is the past and the present and the future a simultaneous thing that we seem to be experiencing from a linear perspective? The linear and the non-linear, that goes back to everything seems to be linking up here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me continue without rambling anymore. Sorry. And if you're getting value, thank you so much. Smash the like button, consider subscribing. That of God because of his power, the Maker because of its working and operation, and the Father because of its goodness. Because of its goodness. All that which we are given. Line 15, for power is different from things that are made, but act or operation is in that all things are made. But act or operation in that all things are made. In that. So through the act or operation, all things are made. And I would say in things there is also act and operation. But the act and operation of God is, in that is what causes things to be made, or through that. This is translated from very old times, so sometimes the words are kind of. Line number 16. Wherefore, letting go all much and vain talking, we must understand these two things, that which is made and him which is the maker. For there is nothing in the middle, ladies and gentlemen, between these two, nor is there any third. Therefore, understanding all things, remember these two, and think that these are all things, putting nothing into doubt, neither of the things above, nor of the things below, neither of things changeable, nor things that are in darkness or in secret. As above, as we know, as above, so below. And so, remember that even of all the things above or of the things below, there is never anything that is not either one of the two things, that which is made and that which is the maker. Very interesting. For all things are but two things, that which makes and that which is made. And the one of them cannot depart or be divided from the other. For neither is it possible that the maker should be without the thing made. This is line number 19. I don't say the numbers every time because, For neither is it possible that the maker should be without the thing made. For either of them is the same thing. Therefore cannot the one of them be separated from the other, any more than a thing can be separated from itself. Are you getting this? Constant contemplation, constant rumination, ponderation, a thinking upon, a meditation, so that we can get this. I'm just trying to take my time and enjoy this. It's kind of a sad day because it's the last entry to this wonderful series, ladies and gentlemen. 21. Now let's do 20. For if he that makes is nothing else but that which makes alone, simple, uncompounded, it is of necessity that he makes the same thing to himself, to whom it is the generation of him that makes to be also all that is made. 21. For that which is generated or made must necessarily be generated or made by another, but without the maker, that which is made neither is made nor is, for the one of them without the other has lost his proper nature by the privation of the other. And remember, we looked up privation. That was like the taking away of, or the removing, the depriving of. Wow. So if these two be confessed, this is line 22, that which makes and that which is made, then they are one in union. This is going before and that following. This one, ladies and gentlemen, constant contemplation, this one's going to take I want to read number 20, 21, and 22 again. I feel like when I'm listening back to this on the premiere, chatting with you guys in the live premiere chats, which is always fun. Thank you so much. It's great to see you there. But when I'm re-listening back, seeing what you guys have to say, I get this for myself differently than right now when I'm experiencing it initially, recording it. I'm like, aha, that made the line made more sense because I'm sure when you're reading it as compared to listening to it, there's more room for contemplation. Or maybe it's the third time I'm hearing it, whatever. We'll see. Line number 21. For that which is generated or made must necessarily be generated or made by another, but without the maker, that which is made neither is made nor is. For the one of them without the other has lost his proper nature by the privation of the other. 22. So if these two be confessed, that which makes and that which is made, then they are one in union, this going before and that following. And that which goes before is God the Maker, and that which follows is that which is made, be it what it will. Be that what it will, and let no man be afraid, because of the variety of things that are made or done, lest he should cast an aspersion of baseness or infamy upon God, for it is the only glory of him to do or make all things. And this making is, as it were, the body of God, and to him that makes or does anything, there is nothing evil or filthy to be imputed, or there is nothing thought evil or filthy. For these are passions that follow generation, as rust follows copper, or as excrement does the body. But neither did the smith make the rust, nor the maker make the filth. It says, nor the maker of the filth, nor God, the evilness. Wow. Wow. Because that's one of those big questions. Like, okay, if God is good, like a lot of people are like, God is love and pure, it's just pure goodness. And a lot of people get turned off by that because they're like, that's just it's too fluffy. Like, what, you want me to expect, like, just unicorns and rainbows, like nice sprinkling noises? And it's like, it's kind of most people who are down here living in the filth of reality, of the material physical world, of the brutest beast nature of physical reality, which is how it's been described before in previous chapters here. But it's like those of us down here, it's very hard to, as Hermes puts it, seeing the beauty of truth and the good that is reposed therein. If we were able to see it, then we would hate the wickedness of this garment and understand the traps and ambushes which it had laid for us. This is at the end of a previous verse entitled, The Greatest Evil is Man is Not Knowing God. But it's like, wow, wow, wow. That was just profound and powerful, ladies and gentlemen. The separation of how is there evil and bad and all of this filth when God is pure goodness and everything is God. So how does that make sense? Well, it just gave us perfect metaphor. And this is why I love when Hermes or Thoth is talking to Asclepius, because they know he's just an idiot like we are. Relatively. I'm sure Asclepius was a wise master, especially after these sessions with sage god Hermes or Thoth, it's like, but he says, here is a perfect metaphor for how does evil exist when God is good and God is everything. These things are as rust follows copper, or excrement does the body. Neither does the smith make the rust, nor the maker make the filth, nor God the evilness. But the vicissitude of generation makes them, as it were, to blossom out, and for this cause did make change to be, as one should say, the purging of generation. Line number 29. Moreover, it is lawful for the same painter to make both heaven and the gods and the earth and the sea and men and brute beasts and inanimate things and trees. Once again, the trees. Yesterday, we were learning about Carl Jung's archetypes when talking about synchronicity in the human psyche and the psychic and the physical. And it was a good episode. If you missed that, check out yesterday's video. But the tree was one of the archetypes. It was like the wise old man or woman, like the trickster and the magical child, and then the mandala, like representing the universe, and then the tree was one of the archetypes. And I was like, very interesting. I'm like, the only tree archetype characters I can think of was like the ants. But there's many, many more. When talking, because it talked previously, I think last week, about the earthly spirits. The third living spirit is man, made after the image of the world, and having by the will of the Father a mind above other earthly spirits. Weird how I jumped to the exact line I was thinking of, but that's line 20 from chapter 16, that none of the things that are certain can perish, from this book as well. But see, there is these living other earthly spirits, other than us, and we having a mind above other earthly spirits. And so to Asclepius, to be truly wise from Hermes, he says, where was it? The inanimate things and trees. Let me read line number 29 again. I mean, I'm going to have to go back to 20 and just go straight through just so we can get a full delivery of this to our minds. But I'm just going free here. Freestyling it, ladies and gentlemen. But moreover, it is lawful for the same painter to make both heaven and the gods. This makes me want to paint it. Like heaven and the gods, and then the earth and the sea and men. So that's the hard part when it comes to painting. And brute beasts and inanimate things, rocks, mineral kingdom, and trees. And is it impossible for God to make these things? Question mark. Oh, the great madness and ignorance of men in things that concern God! Exclamation point. So once again, he's pissed. He's like, you idiots. Like, going back to what we referenced earlier, man's greatest evil is not knowing God or denying its existence because we think we can't see it. I can't find it now, but that's all right. It's just another reminder there. Another reminder. Oh, the great madness and ignorance of men in things that concern God. For men that think so suffer that which is most ridiculous of all. For professing to bless and praise God, yet not ascribing to him the making or doing of all things. They know him not. So, let me read that again. For those that we know in a spiritual pursuit of different kinds, whatever theology or philosophy it be, whatever particular religion, this is to all of us. For men that think so suffer that which is most ridiculous of all. For professing to bless and praise God, yet in not ascribing to him the making or doing of all things. They know him not. And besides their not knowing him, they are extremely impious against him, attributing unto him passions, as pride, or stupidity, or weakness, or ignorance, or envy. For if he does not make or do all things, he is either proud, or not able, or ignorant, or envious, which is impious to affirm. Remember, the piety and reverence towards God. Write this first book, both for humanity's sake and for piety towards God. And he's reminding us here now. I mean, we're not slaves. This piety towards God thing can be taken the wrong way. We're not like, there's two kinds of servants, ladies and gentlemen. People offer service to other people to help out of their own willingness and their own kindness. And there are other kinds of servants that are forcefully made to serve against their will. This goes to light and dark magic. It's like using your ability to manifest or influence reality through your focused conscious intention and thought. I mean, this is a whole different subject, but using that ability to go against somebody's will is a dark magic. But using that ability for the greater good, not against the will of others, is of a light magic, I would expect. I mean, this makes me think of Star Wars and the dark side and the Force and how the Jedi have to get their ability through a very long time of, living in the temple like monks, just meditating all the time, like Yoda style. And it's just a good metaphor for me. And then you finally become in tune with the Force and you're able to manipulate realities in certain ways depending on your harmony and attunement with the Force. And then there is the other way, the dark magic, to where you just use rage and anger and all of the most intense emotions, but you have zero control over it all. It may be a little bit more powerful at times, but against the will of not only harmony and nature and God and reality, but against the will of others to do harm rather than to help. Where are these tangents coming from? I don't know. Facepalm, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I'm sure that you're getting value. We are on the last page, the final lines of the Corpus Hermeticum, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a fun series. "32. For he does not make or do all things. He is either proud, or not able, or ignorant, or envious, which is impious to affirm. For God has only one passion, namely, good. And he that is good is neither proud, nor impotent, nor the rest, impotent, nor the rest. But God is good itself. For good is all power, to do or make all things, and everything that is made by God, that is, by the good, and that can make or do all things. See then how he makes all things, and how the things that are done, how the things are done that are done. If you wish to learn, you may see an image thereof, very beautiful and like. Look upon the husbandman, how he casts his seeds into the earth, here wheat and there barley, and elsewhere some other seeds. Look upon the same man, planting a vine or an apple tree, or a fig tree, or some other tree. So does God in heaven so immortality in the earth, change in the whole life and motion. And the final line number 39 of chapter 17 of the Corpus Hermeticum, to Asclepius, to be truly wise. And these things are not many, but few and easily numbered, for they are all but four: God, generation, in which are all things. God and generation, in which are all things. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a boon to the wisdom of the ages and the lost wisdom of the pharaohs, and of Hermes Trismegistus, or the Egyptian sage god Thoth. Tahat. Wow. Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Trismegistus draws upon the overarching philosophy from this whole Hermetic understanding, as above, so below. What does that mean to you now, ladies and gentlemen? I love line number 26. For these are passions that follow generation, as rust follows copper. So at the end there, when it's talking about God is neither proud nor ignorant nor envious, which is impious to affirm these things. Think of the Christian, Old Testament God, which is like, I'm going to destroy your nations and take revenge upon you jerks, little humans doing the things I don't want you to do. This is a ridiculous understanding of God, and it would be impious to affirm this. So, take that, religious people. I don't know. I mean, it's like, I was raised Christian, and I was taught, you understand where all of that comes from. I mean, every religion's got their own versions of this, but it's like, this is once again why I'm here, because underlying every religion, spiritual philosophy, theology, whatever you want to call them, throughout the world is this thing. And there is this truth, the underlying essence, and always these spiritual philosophies or religions end up becoming dogmatic and corrupted and have strict rules and all of the things that are spoken about in the history of the Hermetica. I'm like, let's see if we can get that bit. Where is it? The golden age of Alexandria came to an end when the birth of the intolerant Christian Holy Roman Empire. Despite the sophistication and cultural achievements of the ancients, the Christians referred to them dismissively as pagans. But it's like this knowledge, this underlying wisdom is there. And when we can come together in times where this knowledge and wisdom is openly discussed and debated and compared and studied side by side, into this new universal city poured men and women of every race and nation. Alexandria was rich in this esoteric knowledge: Pythagoreanism, Chaldean oracles, Greek myths, Platonic and Stoic philosophy, Judaism, Christianity, the Greek mystery schools. So, we have Christianity in there. Why did we all of a sudden become so dogmatic that we decided to just destroy all of this? Because it makes people free. It makes people sovereign. It makes people think for themselves. It makes people become more enlightened. And we begin to have more enlightened men and women that aren't just servants and slaves and sheeps to the system. But that is a different subject. Judaism, Christianity, Greek mystery schools, Zoroastrianism, astrology, alchemy, Buddhism, and of course the ancient Egyptian religion were all practiced, studied, and compared side by side and discussed at some time. And even after the destruction of Alexandria, for the West, the 5th century ushered in the 1,000-year period appropriately known as the Dark Ages. And now this makes me think of the Yuga cycles and how this was like perfectly lined up with that timing. But then the works of Hermes survived. And wherever they have survived and have been studied and venerated, civilization has flourished. We have the greatest minds and times of history. Pagan scholars and sages fled to the newly emerging Arab culture, taking their knowledge and the Hermetic writings with them. 200 years later, the Muslims created an empire by whose learning and scientific achievements were unsurpassed, ladies and gentlemen. But, as always happens, and what I was getting at with this point, is this intolerance and these like all of a sudden out of this pure religion or spiritual philosophy, ladies and gentlemen, becomes this dogmatic from its exalted position amongst the sacred scriptures of Egyptian spirituality. The Hermetica became the secret inspiration, an important undercurrent in Islamic philosophy and the holy book of unorthodox religious sects such as the Sabians. But I mean, several centuries after the death of its founder, Muhammad, Islam was beginning to succumb to the same desire for orthodoxy that had arisen in the Christian West. And the same thing that happened to this knowledge, this collection of the wisdom of the ages, I like to call it, once again, a collection of an underlying understanding of the true teachings, the true lessons that are supposed to be got from these spiritual understandings rather than the dogmatic, orthodox nature that then turns those who will openly discuss and compare all this into heretics, into pagans that need to be rooted out and destroyed, because we can't have everybody understanding the knowledge of the things that are, ladies and gentlemen. But what does Hermes teach us? Once again, you should have this memorized by now if you've been here this whole series. For there can be no religion more true or just than to know the things that are, and to acknowledge thanks for all things, and to him that made them, which thing I shall not cease continually to do. Now let us finish today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here once again with line number 20 through 39, and I'll just read it straight through. No. We'll do 18 through the rest. There's just so much to get from all this. So we'll see, like I said earlier, listening back through this, I'll get more than when I read through it the first time. 18 through 36, last book of the Corpus Hermeticum. For all things are but two things, that which makes and that which is made. And the one of them cannot depart or be divided from the other, for neither is it possible that the maker should be without the thing made. For either of them is the same thing. Therefore, cannot the one of them be separated from the other? And more than a thing can be separated from itself. Any more than a thing can be separated from itself. For if he that makes is nothing else but that which makes alone, simple and uncompounded, is of necessity that he makes the. Start this line again. For he that makes is nothing else but that which makes alone, simple, uncompounded. It is of necessity that he makes the same thing to himself, to whom it is the generation of him that makes to be also all that is made. Phew, that's the deepest line. That's why I wanted to come back and read this again. For if he that makes is nothing else but that which makes alone, simple, uncompounded, it is of necessity that he makes the same thing to himself, to whom it is the generation of him that makes to be also all that is made. For that which is generated or made must necessarily be generated or made by another. But without the maker, that which is made neither is made nor is. For the one of them without the other has lost his proper nature by the privation of the other. So if these two be confessed, that which makes and that which is made, then they are union, this going before and that following. And that which goes before is God, the maker, and that which follows is that which is made, be it what it will. And let no man be afraid because of the variety of things that are made or done, lest he should cast an aspersion of baseness or infamy upon God, for it is only glory of him to do. It is the only glory of him to do or make all things. And this making is, as it were, the body of God. And to him that makes or does anything, there is nothing evil or filthy to be imputed, or there is nothing thought evil or filthy. For these are passions that follow generation, as rust follows copper, or as excrement does the body. But neither did the smith make the rust, nor the maker of the filth, nor God the evilness. But the vicissitude of generation makes them, as it were, to blossom out, and for this cause did make change to be, as one should say, the purging of generation. Moreover, is it lawful for the same painter to make both heaven and the gods and the earth and the sea and men and brute beasts and inanimate things and trees? And is it impossible for God to make these things? Oh, the great madness and ignorance of men in such things that concern God! For men that think so suffer that which is most ridiculous of all. For professing to bless and praise God, yet in not ascribing to him the making or doing of all things, they know him not. And besides their not knowing him, they are extremely impious against him, attributing unto him passions, as pride or stupidity or weakness or ignorance or envy. For if he does not make or do all things, he is either proud or not able, or ignorant, or envious, which is impious to affirm. For God has only one passion, namely good, and he that is good is neither proud nor impotent, nor the rest, but God is good itself. For good is all power, to do or make all things, and everything that is made by God, that is, by the good, and that can make or do all things. See then how he makes all things, and how the things that are done, and if you wish to learn, you may see an image thereof, very beautiful and like. Look upon the husbandman, and how he casts his seeds into the earth, here wheat, there barley, and elsewhere some other seeds. Look upon the same man, planting a vine or an apple tree, or a fig tree, or some other tree. So does God in heaven, so immortality in the earth, change in the whole life and motion. And these things are not many, but few and easily numbered, for they are all but four: God and generation, in which are all things. Wow, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much in that. There's so much in all of this. And this is why a pure philosophy is a spiritual striving through a constant contemplation to attain true knowledge of God, of Atum, of the universe, of the things that are. This last line there, though, saying that they are all but four, but then it just says God and generation in which things are. Not sure where the four is coming from there. If you get that, leave that in the comments below, because earlier it said there are just two, the maker and that which is made. But there's a lot of numerology in this whole philosophy. It's just sad to turn to the next page and have it be empty. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. And now we put our mountain card, which is our bookmark, but it has the elements. I like it. It's got the Akashic principle, the fire, the water, the earth, air. You know, it's got its hermetic understandings in there. The elements. Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. That is a boom to the wisdom of Hermetics, the Hermetica, the divine Pymander, Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth, the Egyptian sage god, the lost wisdom of the pharaohs. I'll have both of these books linked in the description below if you want to get one for yourself to put it on your shelf so you can have for reference in the future, or you can follow along if we continue doing more series, more research on these. I think we might be going to the Kabbalion next week, if I can get it without causing a catastrophe over there. We also have the Emerald Tablets of Hermes. That's really simpler. It's a bunch of different translations of the same thing. 12th century Latin from Madame Blavatsky. What is below is like that which is above, and what is above is similar to that which is below to accomplish the wonders of the one thing. Atum, the one God. But here we have the Kabbalion, the Kabbalion, whatever, however that's pronounced Hermetic philosophy. I haven't made it very, looks like I'm about halfway. Looks like I'm about halfway through this one. I didn't think I had made it that far. But this is going to be deep, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be deep. So until next time, remember to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through a greater awareness and understanding of the nature of the things that are, the nature of reality. So that through this awareness, we can increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. And also remember to seek to discover the lost wisdom of the ages and the hidden mysteries of our history. And also, ladies and gentlemen, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. It is what we must bring to life. Through an ability to bring it to life, then all the things that we've been telling ourselves, oh, I'll be happy or enlightened when I get this thing or learn that much, becomes irrelevant. Because then we are there. And hopefully the entire journey is wonderful. It was a great series, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause. It's always sad when I finish a whole series. We have now done the entire Hermetica in a series, and then in a separate series, the entire Corpus Hermeticum. And so I guess it's up to us now to move on to the Kabbalion. I don't know if I'll ever do a series on initiation into Hermetics. That's kind of I think that's more of a personal journey that we all have to get to that place in our journey to be ready for. And I only read like the first little bit of it, and it's a lot. It's heavy. So for now, we'll stick to the spiritual philosophy, the Hermetic philosophy, so that we can be, as Hermes said, a true philosopher. All right, ladies and gentlemen, these books are in the link. Steal 10 cents from Amazon. Send it to me. Get yourself the book. It helps us all, help support the work we do here. Share this with people that are like-minded. As well, a link to my Etsy shop and my landscape paintings. And also a link to C60 Purple Power, the ultimate antioxidant known to man. Ladies and gentlemen, give yourself the gift of health. What is carbon 60, if you never heard of it? It is a Nobel Prize winning antioxidant with an efficiency several hundred-fold higher than conventional antioxidants like vitamin C. And so, give yourself the gift of health. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I love and appreciate each and every one of you for spending time here with me and Thoth and Hermes and Asclepius and all the wonderful authors and poets and sages of the ages. Until next time, be the change that you want to see. Be the example that you want to set. Na, 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 na.